G'day, fellow human beings. There's an idea I've been thinking about lately. People sometimes talk about the possibility of humanity one day becoming a global civilization, as though it's something far from the future, as though one day, perhaps hundreds of years from now, the nations of the world will finally become interconnected. But I think the truth is much more interesting. We are already a global civilization. We just haven't emotionally, politically, or spiritually accepted it yet. Look around the room you're sitting in right now. Your phone may have been designed in America, manufactured in China, using minerals mined in Africa, technology developed in several different countries, and software written by people scattered across the planet. The clothes you're wearing may have been made in Bangladesh or Vietnam. The coffee you drank this morning may have come from Colombia, Brazil, or Ethiopia. The car may contain parts from Japan, Germany, Korea, Mexico, and dozens of other places. The fuel that powers it comes from a global energy market. The movies you watch, the music you listen to, the ideas you encounter, and even the food you eat are increasingly influenced by cultures from every corner of the world. Our economies are interconnected. Our supply chains are interconnected. Our technology is interconnected. Our communication systems are interconnected. Our environmental problems, you guessed it, are interconnected. Even our conflicts are interconnected. Something happens on one side of the planet, and within seconds, we're watching it unfold on our phones. A war begins in one region, and fuel prices rise somewhere else. A factory shuts down in Asia, and business in Australia, Europe, and America feel the consequences. A virus emerges in one city, and within months, the entire world has changed. So, whether we like it or not, humanity has already crossed a threshold. We are no longer a collection of completely separate nations that can live independently from one another. We've become one deeply interconnected human system. But here's the problem. While our civilizations have become global, much of our thinking is still tribal. Our technology is operating in the 21st century, but many of our political instincts are still operating as though we live in isolated kingdoms. We are trying to manage a global civilization using ideas that we created for a divided world. We still think primarily in terms of us and them. Our nation against their nation, our race against their race, our religion against their religion, our political side against their political side. We are connected enough to affect one another profoundly, but not yet united enough to manage that connection wisely. And that creates enormous tension because interconnectedness without unity can become dangerous. It's like building one enormous house for the entire human family, connecting all the plumbing, electricity, communications, but then insisting that every room is completely independent. One person starts a fire in the kitchen and says, "That's our fire, stay out of it." Someone contaminates the water and says, "That's happening in our part of the house." Someone damages the foundation and says, "It's none of your business." But of course, it's everyone's business because we are all living in the same house. That is increasingly the reality of humanity. Climate change doesn't recognize national borders. Economic collapse doesn't remain politically inside one country. Artificial intelligence won't only affect the nation in which it was developed. Pandemics don't stop at customs. Nuclear weapons don't merely threaten the people who possess them. These are global realities, and global realities require a global level of thinking. That does not mean every country needs to become identical. It does not mean abandoning culture, language, religion, or national identity. Unity is not uniformity. Let me say that again. Unity is not uniformity. A healthy human body contains many different organs, each performing a unique function. A healthy family contains different personalities, different talents, and different perspectives. The goal is not to erase those differences. The goal is to organize them into a functioning whole. You can love your country while also recognizing that humanity is one family. You can be proud of your culture without believing it makes you superior. You can practice your religion without treating everyone outside it as an enemy. You can honor where you come from while also recognizing where humanity is going. And where we are going is toward greater and greater interdependence. That process is not going to reverse. We are not going to uninvent the internet. We're not going to dismantle every global supply chain. We're not going to stop ideas, peoples, technology, and culture from moving across borders. The question is no longer whether humanity will become interconnected. That has already happened. The real question is whether our consciousness will catch up with our reality. Can we develop what I would call a world embracing mindset? Can we begin seeing ourselves not merely as Australians, Americans, Chinese, Iranians, Christians, Muslims, Baha'is, atheists, conservatives, and progressives, but first and foremost as human beings? Not by abandoning those identities, but by placing them inside a larger identity. I am a part of a family, and I am part of a community. I am part of a country, but I'm also part of humanity. Those identities don't have to compete. The smaller identity can exist within the larger one. Just as loving your own family doesn't require hating every other family. Loving your own country doesn't or shouldn't require seeing other countries as less human. Maybe the great challenge of our time is that humanity has already become one civilization externally, but we have not yet become one civilization internally. We have built the physical connections before building the emotional and spiritual maturity needed to handle them. And perhaps that explains some of the chaos we see around us. Old systems are struggling, old ideologies are colliding, people are frightened by how quickly the world is changing. Some respond by retreating deeper into nationalism, tribalism, or religious extremism. Others believe that the answer is to destroy tradition entirely, but perhaps neither extreme is the answer. Maybe the answer is integration, holding on to what is beautiful and valuable with our cultures while letting go of the prejudices that keep us divided, preserving diversity while developing unity, building institutions that recognize that humanity's biggest problems can no longer be solved by nations acting alone. This doesn't mean creating soulless global culture where everyone thinks, dresses, and behaves the same way. In fact, genuine unity would allow diversity to flourish. Think of a garden. Its beauty doesn't come from having one identical flower repeated endlessly. Its beauty comes from different colors, shapes, and fragrances existing together. But the garden still requires organization. It requires care. It requires cooperation. Diversity without unity can become conflict. Unity without diversity can become oppression. Humanity needs both, unity in diversity. And I think that maybe the next great stage in our collective development, for most of human history, our loyalties expanded slowly. From the tribe to the village, to the city to the nation, today we're challenged to take the next step, to expand our sense of belonging to include the entire human race. That doesn't mean pretending we all agree. We clearly don't. It doesn't mean ignoring injustice or avoiding difficult conversations. It means recognizing that even when we disagree, we are still responsible for finding a way to live together. Because there's nowhere else to go. There's no second earth waiting for the people we dislike. There's no separate atmosphere for one religion or one political party. There's no isolated economy that can remain untouched by everyone else. We are in this together, not as a sentimental slogan, as a practical reality. The unity of humanity is no longer merely an ideal. It is becoming a requirement for survival. And perhaps the first step is simply recognizing what has already happened. We are already one global civilization. We already depend on one another. We already have our lives intertwined. Now our thinking has to catch up. Our politics has to catch up. Our moral imagination has to catch up. We need to stop behaving like hostile strangers trapped together and begin learning how to function as members of one complicated, diverse, and often dysfunctional human family. Because that is where we are. One human family living in one shared home, building one civilization together, whether we realize it or not.